Welcome, everybody. This is Rob of Archangel Inc., and it is my pleasure to have back returning guest Hassan Osman. And today we're going to be talking about gathering reviews for your books, which is an important part of being an author and having your material out there. And I'm very excited to talk about that topic this morning. Welcome, Hassan. How are you?
Hey, Rob. Thanks for having me on again.
Yes, it is my pleasure. It's good to have you back. And so we've got a prepared list of questions. So if you're okay with it, let's just dive right in and start talking about this important topic.
Let's go for it.
All right. So first off, for those who don't know you, who haven't watched any of your other videos on our channel or who have encountered you, tell us a little bit, if you would, about who you are in the self-publishing space and your background.
Sure. So my day job is a PMO director at Cisco Systems, and lawyer required note. These are my own and not those of Cisco. I always have to say that.
Got it.
And on the side, I publish books in a few categories. My primary one is short books for busy managers. So I really help managers, mainly in corporate America, become more effective at leading remotely, as well as communicating better and delegating effectively and that sort of thing. And then I also have a couple of other categories I publish books in. One is short travel guides for busy parents. That's like my own little hobby with my family. And then short books for busy authors as well.
Great. Well, thank you for that background. So specific, and the reason I wanted you on today is you recently launched a new book entitled Email Scripts That Get Amazon Book Reviews and Testimonials Authentically. So a big picture, if you would. Who's this book for? Why did you write it? What's your background on the subject? And what is your intention and goal with the publication of the book?
Yeah, so let me start with the big point that I think you initially led with, and that is that Amazon reviews are extremely important for authors, right? I mean, one is the obvious one, which is it gives prospective readers some social proof that help them, help incentivize that they buy the book. But it also helps Amazon as well with its own algorithm, right? Some people even say that this is the key of why Amazon is successful. I'm one of those customers that if I walk into a library or an offline store and I see a book that I like, the first thing I do is I pull up my phone and I look for that book on Amazon and I read the reviews to see if it's worth buying or not, right? So it's such a powerful engine out there that a lot of authors now rely on it to be able to sell more books. So that's sort of the big picture of why Amazon reviews are really, really important. Now, why did I write it? I wrote it because I know this is a pain point for authors. As an author of more than 10 books myself, I know how tough it is to get reviews from prospective readers. And it's getting more and more challenging because Amazon is protecting its system from potential fraud or from potential biased reviews, right? The primary audience of the book is, of course, any author who is publishing on the Amazon platform, right? So that's the primary audience. And then ideally, they are a few weeks before they actually launch the book, because some of the email scripts really work more effectively before you publish. And then also signed up, ideally, to the KDP Select program. So KDP Select, I'm not sure if your listeners, some of your listeners might not know this, but KDP Select is an exclusive program through Amazon. It's a 90-day rolling-based program where you give Amazon the exclusive rights to publish your book. So you can't really publish it anywhere else on Apple Books or Kobo or any of the other platforms for 90 days. And the advantage is that it gives you a 5-day opportunity every 90 days to give it out for free, which we can talk about here in a second. But basically, again, it's you're publishing on Amazon, ideally a few weeks before launch, and then ideally you're signed up to KDP Select.
Got it. Yeah, perfect. So yeah, if you would, you mentioned the free listing that's available through KDP Select. Why would an author use that? Again, this may be kind of a review for other folks, but for anybody out there who's thinking, hey, I spent a lot of time, I spent months maybe putting this book together. Why do I just want to give it away? What's the benefit of that to me? Because I sure would like to be compensated for all this effort that I put into it.
Yeah, fantastic question. And I get that a lot because, to your point, it's like you put in all this effort and it costs you, time and money to publish. Why would you want to give it away for free? There are many, many reasons. I always like to say a book is like a business card on steroids. And having those free days during that 5-day period just explodes that aspect of it, right?
Right.
So really, people who've never heard about you and are interested in getting introduced to your work, or maybe your primary source of income from publishing a book isn't the royalties, but it's consulting, or it's speaking engagements and that sort of thing,
Right.
and that can really help. Another big reason is why we're here, and that is because during that 5-day period, you can gather reviews, and we'll talk about those in a little bit, verified versus unverified, but there's an advantage to getting someone who can download your book for free and then leaving a review as well.
Right. Great. Yeah. Excellent. So cool. Let's dive into some of the particulars. On a practical level, you kind of outline a number of the steps, and we'll include some information later on about how you can access this new book, Hassan. But again, on a practical level, do you do everything manually? From your personal email address? Do you use any tools like an email list manager? Do you automate things at all? And what sort of investment do you think an author who's kind of going through this process the first time should budget for it? What sort of time investment is it going to be? Like I can do it in an afternoon thing, or a multi-week thing, or many month thing? Any insight that you can offer on that would be
Yeah,
most welcome.
definitely. So let me start with the first question, which is, do I use an email manager? The short answer is yes. I do use Aweber, which is an email service provider, and it's basically people that sign up to your list and newsletter, and then send some follow-up emails and that sort of thing. With this task in particular, I started at some points in time to kind of leverage the power of an email manager. But honestly, this is a task that does require a lot of high touch from you as an author, right? Because an email provider could rub people the wrong way. People can now tell that it's not coming from you immediately, but it's coming through like Aweber or MailChimp or any of the other providers out there. And two, you really want to stay as close to this communication as possible, right? Even if you do have a virtual assistant, I highly recommend that you take this particular task very seriously and you do it on your own, right? Because first of all, people want to hear from you as an author, right? They like the idea that the author of the book, himself or herself, is reaching out to their fans or their readers and then asking for a favor in exchange for a copy of the book, right? And then two, it's really important for you not to screw this up in any way, right? And it's very easy for you to use an email merge tool and then use the wrong name or use the wrong anecdote in the email, and you know how this could turn people off really quickly, right? So I would say, definitely stay away from this. Of course, it's going to take you more time, more effort, but it's worth it. Your follow-up question, I think, was about how much time this takes. So I would say, this is because I do this manually, I think it's hard to kind of point to a particular, to kind of time box it. I would say plan on 5 to 8 emails for every review that you need to get. Meaning, if I'm asking someone for a review, I need to email them, 5 to 8 times back and forth. They might have questions, send a manuscript, follow up because they haven't responded back to you over a period of maybe 2.5 weeks, right? Like that's sort of, people are busy. You can't expect that you just send an email and that's it. I think that was one of your questions, is like, is this an afternoon thing? It is definitely not an afternoon thing. It's going to require a lot of hustle. It's going to require you asking and asking again. You're going to have to follow up with people because, again, they're super busy and you have to kind of guide them through the process. You can't just say, hey, here's my book. Can you please leave a review, right? I mean, the chances of that happening are very low, even if people do want to help you out.
Right. Yeah. And I'll share a little bit about our process, which overlaps, I would say, in some significant measure with what you outlined in your book. But in the case of authors who are working with Archangel Link, when they're doing the launch package, and that's kind of part of what we do, we find our prospect list. We do use an email list manager just because I was advised by sort of a tech savvy person that having an unsubscribe button is really helpful. I've gotten a couple of letters when I send an email out, I don't want to hear from you anymore, and so we have that there. However, one of the we do have a lot of attrition, I would say. People who say that they're going to do it and don't, or who ignore the first or even second email. Typically there's a three email follow up. Hey,
Mhm.
just wanted to make sure that you saw this. Let me know if you're interested. Or hey, final notice. If it's not a good fit for you, no problem. We wish you all the best. Something like that. But yeah, as you mentioned, people are busy, and it requires a little bit of consistency in kind of reaching out, even again if they are legitimately interested and really do have a desire to share some thoughts about the book. Life happens, and a review for a free book is not always the top priority for folks that you're targeting. So having
Yeah.
some system in place to follow up with that, is great, and I love that. It's not an afternoon thing, and just expect to, as you said, have a sort of high touch experience over multiple emails in the course of several weeks.
Yeah, and one thing to point out, Rob, because the unsubscribe thing and the whole spam thing is very important, right? I
Mm-hmm.
take that very, very seriously. So, I also get that mail sometimes from folks who are,
Right.
sick and tired of hearing from my updates, and
Right.
it's all automated. In fact,
Yep.
I think it's also part of, U.S. law now and
Right.
policy that you have
Mm-hmm.
to have that. But with the difference between what I'm talking about, mass emailing your newsletter, which you can leverage, right?
Sure.
As part
Yep.
of a couple of emails saying, hey, I'm publishing a book. If anyone's interested in leaving a review, let me know and I'll be happy to send you an early review copy, right? I mean, you
Right.
can get that sort of route. But
Right.
then if you need to get testimonials or you need to get Amazon reviews from someone who's not on your list, then this is where you need to be careful about adding them
Yep.
to a subscribe list that they
Right.
haven't opted in for.
Yep.
And that's where, sending them an email from your personal email address and just kind of very
Yep.
simply outlining the fact that, hey, I saw your email listed on Amazon and I'm reaching out because I thought you might be interested. If not, let me know and I'll, I won't bother you again, right? Or
Right.
that sort of thing. So
Right.
that type of conduct is really, really important.
Yeah, great distinction. And part of one of the benefits of sending that email out from your individual author email. Again, in our case, we're writing on behalf of authors, and so it's a little bit of a different experience. And
Yeah.
so great, great and important point. So I kind of want to go to the following question, but we'll continue on as planned. Next question: how do you find prospects, both for endorsements and for general customer reviews? Is it fully manual process? Do you cross-reference Amazon, listings from previous reviewers? Do you, have a running tally of influencers, that you can potentially kind of ping down the road? Like you come across somebody and, okay, next book I'm going to reach out to them and kind of, throw that on a spreadsheet. How does that process work in your case?
Yeah, great question. So let me take a step back and
Mm-hmm.
differentiate between testimonials and
Mm-hmm.
Amazon reviews, right?
Right.
They have some overlap, but the way you approach those two buckets is different, right?
Mm-hmm.
So testimonials are basically endorsements about your book from thought leaders in the space of your book subject, right? So if you're writing a book about, I don't know, accounting, for example, then someone who's got a CPA or is the CEO of an accounting firm is a great person to leave a
Mm-hmm.
testimonial for your book. With Amazon reviews or Amazon customer reviews, it's a
Mm-hmm.
little bit different because it could be any Amazon customer who picked up a copy of your book, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the way I approach finding testimonial reviewers is basically, as you said, it's really starting to look through, for example, CEOs of small to medium sized companies. Large companies is usually very hard to get to, but
Sure.
maybe in the space of the book topic that you're writing about, someone who's a thought leader there.
Right.
I would leverage LinkedIn, literally
Mm-hmm.
using the search bar for LinkedIn and
Mm-hmm.
looking through people who are, again, leaders in the topic of the book that you're writing about.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe even YouTube or podcasts, listening to some guests who've talked about the subject and then cold emailing them and saying, hey, I heard you on this or whatever. Like, for example, I wrote the book called Write Your Book on the Sides. And I reached out to you, given that you're a leader in the space with,
Sure.
self-publishing and all of that. And you kindly left me a review
Mm-hmm.
of the book there. And I used that on the back cover of the book, right? So
Sure.
it's really sort of looking for people who are experts in a field
Mm-hmm.
and cold emailing them, literally just saying, hey, I don't have a large audience, for example, and I'm looking for someone who might be interested in endorsing this.
Sure.
So that's testimonials.
Hmm.
With Amazon reviews, it's a little bit different.
Hmm.
So one way is that you look for people who left reviews on Amazon.com. In a lot of cases, if you click on their name, which is usually a hyperlink, it goes to their profile page on Amazon. And a lot of times they either leave their email address or their websites. And so you're going to have to do some sort of digging, look through their website for their email address and contacting them and saying, hey, I saw you left a review of a book that's similar to mine. I thought maybe you're interested in getting an advanced review copy and interviewing my book.
Right.
There are a lot of tools, Rob, out there. Honestly, some of them I can't forget the names of, but
Sure.
they sort of do that aggregation for you.
Sure.
They go out there and they scrape the emails off people or Amazon reviewers, and they match them with the books that they left reviews off. And you can some of those are paid services. I used one in the past, maybe 4 years ago. But given that I've published a few books, so I have like a running roster of people who've kindly left reviews and like to be updated. So I kind of leverage that first.
Yep.
But again, it's high touch, it's elbow grease, right? Literally starting to search for them. There are a lot of book review websites, bloggers, who enjoy reading new books and leaving reviews there. So you can leverage that as well. It's just literally trying to go through and manually pulling some of that data out.
Yep. Yeah. And I'll include a link down below. Jordan and I did a couple of live videos outlining the process that Archangel Inc. has developed on building that out. And it is, as you mentioned, very high touch. Takes time. You definitely commit some delegate some days really to finding this and try and locating those IDs or those publicly available information and cross-referencing it and so forth. So I'll include a link to that. But yeah, great insight. Now, you mentioned just a moment ago that now at this stage you have an email list. So if you would talk about that as a resource for finding future reviewers, and then also if somebody doesn't have it, if they're writing for the first time, if they're just kind of starting out, what would you recommend to give themselves the best chance?
Yeah. So let me start with if you do have an email list, right? So what I would do, or what I usually do, is when I plan on publishing a book, I basically send out an email asking people who are interested in an early review copy in exchange for an honest review, right? And I usually get responses back, and those who do respond, I just keep a running tally, a spreadsheet, and I kind of just make sure that I follow up with them. Over time, though, these days, the keyword on this is build in public, even though a lot of people have been doing it for like the last 20 years.
Sure.
But, building in public is a really good way of trying to gather additional people who are interested. And this kind of weaves into folks who don't have an email list, right? Whether you have a Twitter account or other social media accounts, to kind of start publishing either parts of the book or asking for feedback on content of the book, such as the cover, for example.
Sure.
You can, again, leverage your email address for that, or social media if you don't have an email list, and say, cover A or cover B, help me vote or help me decide.
Sure.
That kind of starts building a little bit of anticipation. It builds a little bit of, hey, I'm part of the story now. And then with each email that I send out, at the bottom, I keep repeating the same message, meaning, hey, this book is getting published in a couple of months. If you're interested, let me know. Just hit, reply and let me know you're interested, and I'll add you to the list. So that kind of builds a bigger pool of people who are interested.
Yep.
And then, if some other ideas that if you don't have an email list or you don't have a large following, it's literally some of the stuff we talked about earlier, going on Amazon, looking for potential reviewers, and then looking for some book review sites. There are a couple of paid services. Now, you have to be very careful about this, because there are some sites where you pay someone $5 and they leave you a highly rated review on Amazon. That is completely unallowed. I mean, you can get in trouble for that. You can, get penalized. I wouldn't do that. There are some services where you can pay for a non-guaranteed review, meaning you sort of provide your book, as an advanced review copy, and they have a pool of people who, if they're interested, they can read the book. They're not obligated to leave a review.
Right.
But if they do, it's also not guaranteed that it's a 5-star review, right? Like
Right.
it can be, it's
Yep.
it's literally an honest review. So there are a few. I do mention a couple in the book, but
Hmm.
that's another way to kind of go through
Sure.
a service if you don't, have a large following.
Yep. Great. Yeah. So there are a handful of existing resources out there, and I'll try and locate those or get with you afterward,
Yeah.
and include some links as well for folks who are interested in going that route, or at least learning more about that. Okay. So next question here: do you get pushback from people who dislike the book, disagree with the material? How do you handle that if so?
Yeah, so always, let me start
Mhm.
with that, right? Like
Yeah.
you're never gonna please everyone, right?
Right.
There's gonna be some folks who just hate what you do and they're gonna let you know it, and that's okay, right? I mean,
Hmm.
part of this is by publishing something online, you're going to have to be or get immune very quickly to a lot of that criticism. Now,
Hmm.
do I listen to it? Absolutely. I do take that feedback, particularly, especially trends over time. So
Hmm.
if someone is hating a particular thing that I said or I published in a book, and then I hear it like 6 different times over a couple of months, then that's a pattern that I need to learn from and maybe
Hmm.
adjust going forward, right?
Sure.
As I said, I publish short books for busy managers. This is not for everyone. Some people
Right.
like to read 500-page books, right? Like to
Hmm.
really dive into that. I'm more about the meat, just getting to the point and then give you that time back to focus on other things. So
Right.
this isn't for everyone. And it's so interesting because you get like 1-star reviews saying this book is very short, and then five-star reviews that say this book is very short, right?
Yep.
Like it's
Yep.
it's really it's a cup of tea. So that's at the macro level. And
Hmm.
then in terms of pushback on reviews, that's like I always ask for an honest review, right?
Right.
As a matter of fact, some people think that having 35-star reviews is a good thing.
Hmm.
That's not really true. That people are smart. People can
Hmm.
sometimes pick up on the fact that something's a little bit suspicious,
Uh-huh.
right? There's no way you're perfect in the book and no one has critiqued it. so
Hmm.
so in a way it benefits me that I'm not getting glorifying reviews all the time. I do want to see a nice sort of variation of that. And
Sure.
so if I get pushback or someone says, hey, listen, I'm disappointed in this book. I didn't feel like it was up to the standards of your previous
Hmm.
books. And I don't know if you'd like me to leave a review. And I'd be like, please go ahead. Right.
Hmm.
Like I'd like you to kind of publish that. I'm not looking for or fishing for 5-star reviews. I want other people to learn from your feedback as well, because
Hmm.
that'll help me improve and get better. Right. So
Yep.
I literally ask everyone to leave an honest review. I never challenge people on it unless there's something like completely off, or like, for example, if someone said, I never got or the link to the bonus materials, because I have a link to sign up to the newsletter
Hmm.
list with the bonus materials, and they leave a 1-star review because that doesn't exist. I
Right.
sometimes try to reach out to say, listen, maybe it's a browser issue and maybe it's a
Right.
technical issue on your end. I
Sure.
just checked it. That way I do, and they usually change the review. But other than that, if it's about the content, it's just part of publishing in public, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. And one of the things that makes me think of, I've well, sometimes those 1-star reviews or 2-star reviews can be positive, one because it shows authenticity, but also sometimes it can garner a little bit of support for you as the author, especially if they're sort of not appropriate. Like you said, hey, that link didn't work, or occasionally I'll see reviews for something on Amazon. Box arrived damaged, 1 star. It's like, well, that's not the fault
Yeah, yeah,
of the author. They were the ones printing it,
right.
and so yeah, I think that's a really important note that you have. Positive, like not positive only reviews, but authentic and thoughtful reviews are what we're going for. Having a bunch of reviews as well that are one sentence, hey, this book was great, buy it. That's nice. It's
Right.
good to see, but it doesn't help people make a buying decision, and it
Exactly.
doesn't give them a sense of, okay, I know what to expect, and this is a good book for me, or it's not a good book for me. So yeah, really, really great point. Okay, so moving forward. this is something that you shared, and as far as either of us can tell, we've done a bit of research. It's fully above the board as far as Amazon is concerned. If you would tell us about gift cards and then and verified reviews and all of that.
Yeah. So let me start with who can leave a review on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
And this probably changed a couple of years ago, I believe. I can't remember the exact time frame, but Amazon, because they started getting a lot of fake reviews, said, okay, we're going to have to put our foot down and say that only eligible customers can leave a review.
Mm-hmm.
And so what eligible customers are folks who have purchased something worth $50 or more on Amazon.com. I'm not sure what the rules are for the UK and India and the other marketplaces, but for the main Amazon.com US-based sites, you have to spend over $50 in the last 12 months on anything. It doesn't have to be books, but basically you're a customer. And they even specify it needs to be a credit or a debit card. So it can't be a gift card, right? It literally has to be your own money buying something. And if you meet that criteria, that means you're an eligible customer. And technically, you can leave reviews on anything, right? Even if you didn't buy that product. So if, let's say, I go to a Barnes & Noble and I pick up a copy of an author's book and I read it and I like it, I am allowed, if I'm an eligible customer on Amazon, to leave a review on Amazon. But if I buy the book from Amazon and then leave a review on Amazon, there's a little bit of an advantage there because that would show up as a verified purchase. So literally on the Amazon book page, the reviews that are verified will show up with a label that says verified purchase in orange. And those, according to Amazon, weigh a lot more because they can verify that someone actually bought the book, shipped it to their address, and they read it and left a review, or shipped to their Kindle device or what have you.
Sure.
So those weigh more in terms of average star rating. They appear higher on the Amazon review results as well. So they're a bigger advantage for authors. So your priority should always be to get verified purchase reviews from your reviewers. So how do you get them? Well, there are 3 ways you can get a verified purchase. One is someone pays for your book with their own money and they download it or ship it, and then they leave a review. So that's the primary method that Amazon always encourages. A second method is using KDP Select. So we talked about that earlier. If you signed up to this optional exclusive program, you get 5 days worth of free downloads every 90-day period. And if someone downloads the book during that 5-day period and then leaves a review, it will show up as a verified purchase, which is a great advantage, right? So that's another advantage of having or giving it away for free. And by the way, because a lot of people ask that question, is like, well, do they download it during this 5 days and do they need to leave a review during those 5 days? And the answer is no. They can download it during those 5 days. And then even if it's 6 months later, they leave a review, it is going to show up as a verified purchase. So even after the price goes up. So that's the second way to get a review. The third is to get what's called use a gift cards, right? For your book. And what that means is, so let's say I ask you, Rob, hey, would you mind leaving a review? And you go, yes, and the book is sold for $5. What I do is I buy a gift card worth of $5 from Amazon. I send it to you, and you can download the book. You can buy the book, right, with a gift card, and then you can leave a review. So that also works as a verified purchase. So it will show up as a verified purchase.
Right.
Now, the disadvantage there is you can take that $5 and buy, I don't know, a toothbrush or something. Like you're not obligated to buy the book. The risk of that is low because people are usually honest, but that's one way of, a third way of doing it. So again, just to wrap up, someone has to buy your book with their own money and leave a review. They can use KDP Select, so they download it for free and leave a review. Or third, to use a gift card that you give them and they buy the book and leave a review. There's another tweak I want to make sure I mention here, and that is something called product vouchers. So product vouchers are sometimes confused with gift cards. Those are 2 separate things.
Hmm.
A gift card is a monetary value. So literally, $5, you can buy a toothbrush with it.
Hmm.
A product voucher forces you to just buy the book. So I buy the book on your behalf and I send you a link where you can download the book or you
Hmm.
can get the book shipped to you, right? So that product voucher cannot be used for anything else.
Hmm.
You're kind of forced with it. The disadvantage of a product voucher is that it does not show up as a verified purchase.
Got it.
They can
Got it.
still leave a review, but it will not be a verified purchase. So
And at that stage, it would simply be the same as if they didn't purchase it at all. They just leaving a customer review like Amazon permits anybody.
precisely,
Got it.
precisely. And
Hmm.
the rules of Amazon are a little bit, I don't want to say gray, but they're interpreted in different ways. The idea
Hmm.
is that you can't have someone leave a verified purchase review if they got the product or the book at a significant discount
Hmm.
compared to the average public, right? So it's
Okay.
sort of like, that's why KDP Select is allowed, because
Sure.
everyone got it for free. So that's the way that they're
Yep.
kind of currently doing it now. So focus on those three methods to
Great.
get verified purchases.
Now, a clarifying question, and maybe you know the answer. If somebody leaves a review as a general customer review without having purchased it beforehand, but they in turn afterward purchase it, they receive the gift card or they spend their own money to purchase it, will their review update to becoming verified at a later time because of the subsequent purchase, or would it remain in the unverified state when from which it was initially published?
That's a fantastic question. I don't know the answer to that,
Hmm.
but I would think it would not,
Yeah,
because it's time stamped. So it
sure.
depends, depending on when. If 2 years ago you let that review, I don't think there's a way in which that gets mapped back and it updates it, because the
Sure.
book itself there could be a different version of it. So my
Hmm.
gut feel is that it does not get updated, but I haven't tested that and I haven't asked uh, the KDP support team about that.
Yeah, great, cool. No problem. That's something that I'll look into, and if I find an answer, folks, I will include some details down below
Yeah,
or in a
I'm interested
subsequent
to know.
video.
I'm
Yep.
interested to know.
Cool. Okay, so I know I want to respect your time here. We've got two other questions to chat about, and this is about the book specifically. So again, the book is Email Scripts That Get Amazon Book Reviews and Testimonials Authentically, and you've published it just recently on Gumroad. And you know, why did you end up publishing it there? Do you have plans for an Amazon release at some point? Please share a little bit about it for us.
Yeah, so I wrote a very detailed post on the advantages of Gumroad versus Amazon KDP, and it's actually not just the advantages; it's pros and cons of all of those.
Sure.
So I can talk for a full hour on this, but
Sure.
but a really high level, Rob. The reason why I went with Gumroad is because of the nature of the email scripts.
Hmm.
So because people want to copy paste those,
Hmm.
it's hard to kind of do if you're using a Kindle or a paperback copy. So Gumroad seemed to be the better format.
Hmm.
Plus, I wanted to do it in two separate handbooks. One is like the short guide that gives you some of the tidbits and strategies, and
Hmm.
then a separate guide just with the email scripts divided into three categories, of depending on the customer base that you're reaching out to. So
Hmm.
it was really from a practical standpoint that I chose Gumroad versus Amazon. However, I might at one point, again, I'm a big fan of Amazon, and this is a topic that highly applies to people who are already on Amazon and authors who are on Amazon. So it makes a little bit of sense. So
Hmm.
there are potential plans maybe in a few months that I republish it on Amazon, but for
Hmm.
now it is on Gumroad for that reason.
Awesome. So, if anybody is interested in purchasing it, where can they find that? And is there anything else that you'd like the audience to know as we're wrapping up here?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for one of the great strategies in the book that you
Hmm.
shared with me, because your name is in there
Great.
at the end of the book. And folks can get a special discount through your website,
Hmm.
Rob. I think the link, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's archangelinc.com/email scripts,
Correct.
all one
Archangel
word.
Inc. Yep. Archangelink.com/email scripts, all one word.
Yep,
Precisely.
and you get a special deal there
Mhm.
through that link, so you can check that out there.
Awesome, great. And as we're wrapping up here, Hassan, I just want to thank you again for your contribution to the self-publishing arena. Your website again, if anybody wants to find you and listen to your podcast or learn more about your authorship work.
Yeah, thank you. So I host a podcast. It's a bi-weekly podcast. It's free. It's not sponsored as of today. So really just kind of sharing some of the great insights from folks such as Rob as well. I know you were a guest
Mm-hmm.
at one point,
Yep.
and others. It is writerontheside.com, and no spaces, no dashes. And then you can also literally just share, check out Apple Podcast or Stitcher or Spotify, search for
Mm-hmm.
Writer on the Side, Hassan Osman, and you can subscribe to the podcast. All my contact information is on the website as well. I publish a blog post every once in a while as well
Mm-hmm.
about the self-publishing space. So
excellent. And I will make sure to include those links down in the description field below as well as anything else, Hassan, that you'd like me to share, your social media links and so forth. I'll make sure to include those if folks want to connect with you that way. But all of that said, thank you again for a really great interview and really great information, folks out there. I've had a chance to read through the 2 parts of the upcoming or the recently released book. Definitely worth checking out. If you have questions, leave them in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer them for anybody about the book, or about email review gathering in general. And again, thanks, Hassan. It's been a pleasure chatting with you today.
likewise, thanks so much for having me, Rob.